Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to the Pranzata podcast. I am your host, Andrea Pranzatelli, and today is episode number 33 of my podcast video series here on YouTube. Today I have a very special guest. This is Matt Rivera. He is a New Jersey / New York City comedian. He also produces his own comedy show called, tell me the name of it again.
It's a Firewall Comedy Show.
Firewall Comedy Show. So that's really awesome. And I have a bunch of questions for him about a little bit about comedy, but we're just going to kind of randomly shoot the shit about different things also. So if you're into that kind of thing, if you're into comedy, if you're from, you could be from anywhere, but if you're into the New Jersey comedy scene, don't forget to hit subscribe, don't forget to hit like, and don't forget to comment on anything that we talk about throughout the episode. So let's get right into it. Episode number 33. That's exactly how old I am. How old are you?
I'm 24.
Oh, nice. You're a baby. You are a baby.
People keep telling me that. Like when I meet like women in bars who are like a couple years older than me, I'll tell them, "Oh, I'm 24." Like we'll be having like a flirty conversation, and I'll tell them, "Oh, I'm 24," and then they'll be like, "Oh." And they'll get disappointed. I'm like, it doesn't change the merit of what happened. They kind of have. It's funny. I actually have a question for you about your love life, and I'm gonna jump to that right now. Oh shit.
That's what we started with.
All right, sure.
So I'm curious to know, as a comedian, because as a female, I know the reaction that I get from men when I tell them I'm a comedian. I'm kind of curious, like, so as a comic, as a comedian, when you're out in bars or wherever you meet women in school, and like you feel like things are going well, when you tell them you're a comedian, do they light up, or do they, like, how do they react to that? I'm kind of curious how women perceive that. Like, are they like excited about it? Or are they like, oh, he's not going to make money? Like, what's their reaction? Yeah,
I mean, honestly, like the reaction that I tend to get is usually they light up. Usually they get like, happy about it, like they're excited, which is cool. Yeah. But there have been a couple of times where they're like, huh, oh, you're a comedian. Like, they get like that about it.
I just think from the female perspective, it's not usually a good reaction. I mean, like, some guys are like, oh, so you're funny. But I feel like when a lot of men, when they hear that a woman is a comedian, they're just like, oh, she's probably a whore. Like that's like kind of the reaction.
Really?
Not like a whore, but like they just, I don't know. They just, like, I've had one of my guy friends tell me like, oh, you're a comedian. Like, I don't trust funny women. Like, I don't trust
funny women.
So wow. I'm like curious how the male perspective is, like how men get treated. But it sounds like you get respected by women for being a comedian.
I mean, I think to some degree. I mean, I'm a young guy. I don't look like awful, like. So I can understand. They're like, oh, okay, he still has some like youth left. He's doing his thing, and I'm pretty confident when I talk about it. So I think it reflects well on me.
I was just gonna say, I have a feeling like probably older women might look down on like if you were like 35 and you were a comic and you were just meeting women for the first time, they'd probably be like, ugh. But since like you know what I mean? I feel like that might be the reaction. But I feel like because you're young, like it's like an attractive thing. It's like, oh, you're going for your dreams. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I think. That's the kind of vibe I get.
So okay. I wasn't planning to start with that question. I was planning to start with an icebreaker question, but we're going to jump second question to the icebreaker question. So I like to ask self-awareness questions here on this podcast. So sometimes they can be intense. So hold yourself. Hold yourself. It's not that intense. It's actually good. So, okay. As a comedian, we could all improve, right?
Yeah.
Myself included. What would you think is one trait about you that holds you back from taking your comedy to the next level, or like something in your comedy that you actively need to work on, like stage presence or your writing? Like, is there anything that you're like, I know I need to do this?
Oh, 100% stage presence.
Really?
Yeah, like I've been doing comedy for maybe a year and 2 months now, and when I first started, I would have jokes. They were okay, it was like the beginning. They were okay jokes, but my stage presence would take away any semblance of being funny away from it, because I would go up and I would be nervous and freeze up and just almost look like I didn't want to be there, even though I did.
Yeah.
So yeah, through like a lot of people just telling me that and me realizing it myself, I kind of just go out there with the intention of, be more alert, be more active, be more like in your body,
Yeah. Has that improved at all? Like, have you been getting better at that, or is it something you still need to work on?
It's something that I still am actively working on, but it's something that I can say has improved a lot since I first started, definitely.
What do you think has like helped you? Do you just like go up with like a different voice? Like, did you change your speaking voice, or how did it help?
I did try messing with my speaking voice a couple of times. It was a little weird, but ultimately, I went up there, and a good friend of mine, he told me that like one of the funniest times that he's seen me is when I was like playing Call of Duty with my friends, like video games, or like when I was talking to them about that. Yeah. And what's relevant about that is that when I'm doing that, that's probably like one of the more comfortable things that I'm doing.
That makes so much sense.
You know? Yeah. So he's heard me, and he's heard the way I've like spoken to my other friends, and I can be a little disrespectful, but mostly just playful, you know? Yeah. And it made me think, oh shit, I could be that on stage. I should be that on stage, because that's me at my most comfortable.
I've actually heard this before by like seasoned comedians. They say it takes like 3 to 5 years. They say it takes 10 years to master it, and they say it takes like 3 to 5 years to start finding your voice. So I think it's totally normal that you're like still finding your voice and figuring that out. But I have heard people say that like figuring out who you're basically trying to find yourself on stage, which is crazy because we already are ourselves, but it's such an unnatural environment to be like going on stage. So essentially like trying to find your voice as a comedian is trying to figure out like who are you at your funniest. So the fact that you've been able to identify that, like, oh, I'm really funny when I'm playing what is it, like
Call of Duty or video games.
No, I'm just kidding.
Dungeons and Dragons. It might as well be that.
By the way, I'm horrible at Dungeons and Dragons. Some of my neighbors play it, and they like asked me to come over for a Dungeons and Dragons thing, and I'm just like, I played that before, I'm horrible at it. But anyways, that's
D&D. That's the one where it's like they're like imaginary, and they make up props and they write out a whole story, right?
You need a really good attention span for that.
Oh, 100%.
And I don't have that, and like I don't have the attention span to remember all the facts like that they make up as they go. Well, not facts, but stories that they make up as they go. Okay, so that's good that you're like have that self-awareness. That's something that you're working on. Okay, so I want to get into the next topic. So your Instagram handle is Insulin Junkie, and you're referring to. You said you were open to talk about this.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you're referring to your type 1 diabetes.
Yeah.
Which is like, so tell me about that, because I think that's like a unique thing to hear about somebody your age having that. Is this something genetic? Like, how did you find out you had it? Did you have it your whole life? Like, what's the deal there?
So I was diagnosed with diabetes when I was 12.
Oh shit.
Yeah, when I was 12. So I was like, it was literally like right at the start of me going through puberty.
Oh my god, that must be awful.
Yeah. So like I don't like for those who don't know, like like for diabetics, when their blood sugar is like constantly being altered, it can affect a lot of things such as your mood and your temperament. Yeah. And like your overall just just how like how people interact with you, how it affects you, you know. Like I was like hypersensitive growing up, and I would get angry easily, but it was like a mixture of the hormonal shit plus like my blood sugar was out of control, you know. And it was just like a really weird thing, but yeah, so I got diabetes when I was in Disneyland, actually.
In Disneyland?
Yeah.
Wait, you
just to move to like a more.
What do you mean you got it in Disneyland? You found out you had it?
Yeah. Like I went to Disney World. My mom is a diabetic. She was a diabetic for about 6 years before I was diagnosed, and we went to Disney World for vacation with the whole family. And she noticed that I would keep going to get like the soda refills, and I would drink them, and then I would immediately like 2 minutes later have to use the bathroom. Yeah. And I went through like 5 or 6 sodas before she was like, okay, I'm going to test your blood sugar because these are symptoms that I've experienced before. Then she checked it.
She figured it out.
Okay. Yeah, she checked it, and my blood sugar was high. And when your meter says high, it means that your blood sugar is so high that the meter can't even read it.
Oh my God.
Which is like really dangerous for your body, especially over like long periods of time.
That's crazy. And that's so crazy to get that at such a young age, because usually people who get that, like, it's like bad eating, and I can't imagine at 12 years old you're eating. I mean, maybe your eating was horrible, but I don't know. But like, even if you were eating like bad foods, it's just crazy that you were so young. Like, you know what I mean? Has that affected like your self-esteem at all, or not really? It's just you got it so young that you've just kind of owned it, like, at this point.
At this point, I've absolutely owned it, and that's why it's a big part of my comedy. But when I was growing up, it was almost like I wanted to pretend it didn't exist. So because of that, I neglected myself a lot. Yeah. And that's why, like, when I was around like 18, 19 years old, I started to see some of the like the damage that it had actually done to my body. Yeah. Yeah, like a couple of jokes that I do. One of them is that I almost lost my vision.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and it was in my left eye, and I remember I was just working at the time, and I was looking up at a monitor in Olive Garden. That's where I worked at the time, and I couldn't. It would look like there was a black eye floater just right in front of my eye whenever I would like try to focus on something. So I was scared. It was so bad. But after that, I started to take care of myself. I got better like equipment and stuff, and then I think it's funny looking back. Honestly.
Do you have to bring like insulin on you everywhere now?
100%.
Is that what's in the backpack? Do you have it right now?
Yeah, that's a whole survival kit. I got everything I need.
Yeah, that's insane, dude. I mean, good for you though for like owning it and somehow putting it in your comedy and making light of the situation.
Yeah, I mean, because it's something that I realize is unique to me, especially my experiences with it. And there's just a lot to talk about. Yeah. And the diabetic comics, or rather the diabetic jokes that I hear on stage when I go to open mics or shows, and I'll randomly hear one, I'll be like, oh, that's cool. They're acknowledging diabetes, but also it's like, it's kind of hacky stuff. Like a lot of times I've heard
making fun of diabetics and stuff.
It's not even. I don't care if they make fun of diabetics. Not even a little bit. I just feel like some of the stuff is just too easy and requires little knowledge to understand. Which is like an easy joke. I think like one thing that I've heard a lot is like the toes thing. Like they'll make like the diabetics not having toes or needing toes or something like that. The punchline, it's just like it could work, but also it's like there's so much more you could talk about. And as a diabetic, I'm like, you have like a truly unique perspective. You're not just joking about it. Like you're not just like, oh, I'm making fun of it. It's like, no, you've experienced it. So that's really exactly. So it's like, yeah, that's true in the long run, but you could provide more context. I don't know. That's just my thing. It's just that if there is going to be a joke about it, I want it to like actually be funny and not just like cheap, because I guess I just judge jokes like that a little harder because it affects me personally, and like I could probably write something better than that.
I know you're saying I'm reading a book right now that a couple of my podcast guests had recommended it to me. Andre Mitchell and Tim Rager both recommended me a book called The Comedy Bible by June Carter, and one of the rules in it was which I really liked this. It said, don't go for low. They said take the rules with a grain of salt. Like you don't have to follow them, but like still read them and it's interesting. But one of the rules in there was don't go for low hanging fruit. Meaning like don't just go for like the easiest thing you can find. Try like if the toes thing like the diabetes, like that's an easy hacky thing to do. It's like anybody could say that. So it's like don't go for the easiest joke you could possibly find, which I've been guilty of before. Like I've made jokes where
I think we've all been guilty of doing that.
Yeah,
before.
I've been like, oh my god, I didn't realize that this was like such an easy joke and that so many other people were making the same joke. It's like try to find like the unique perspective. Don't just like go for the easiest thing.
Yeah, and that's why I think like topical stuff is a little more difficult because if you can't find like a direct connection to it, I think it's harder to make it unique. You know?
That's so true. Okay, so I have a bunch of stuff for you. So we're gonna get to the next question. Okay, we kind of answered this a little bit, but I'm gonna ask it again. Did you ever have stage fright when you were a new comic?
I have stage fright every fucking time I go on stage.
I was gonna say you're still relatively new.
Absolutely,
you have stage fright?
every single time I go up there, and now I try to like wear like a confident face, but like sometimes my anxiety would get so bad that I would have to like cause myself a little bit of pain just to like snap out of it. What
do you do to cope? What do you mean cause pain? What do you do?
Okay, so this sounds weird now, but it doesn't sound weird in my head. So like one thing that I would do before going on stage is I would just like slap my face enough because my face I would feel flushed. It would be red. I don't think it's
weird at all.
Like, and I would be like there would be so much blood going through my face. It felt warm and it would make me like really nervous. I would smack my face and then like that sensation. I don't think
that's weird at all. I don't think that's weird at all. That makes a lot of sense. Because I go to therapy and they tell you that's actually like a technique when you're overwhelmed with like a certain emotion. They have these like bracelets and they want you to like they tell you to slap a rubber band, like a bracelet against your wrist.
Yeah.
The shock of that. Or like another technique is holding ice cubes, like because like
really
anything that's gonna shock your body and take you out of your head and like bring you back to your body.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I actually don't think that the slap in the face is weird at all. It makes perfect sense.
Thank God. It's because I feel like it sounded weird coming out and I was like, shit, now I gotta explain.
No, when you said like I caused pain to myself, I'm like, Jesus Christ, is he cutting himself? Like what is he doing?
So it's like I cut myself so that I'm not nervous. No, that would be terrible.
No, I think this actually I like that. I'm gonna try that. Like the next time I get nervous on stage, I'm just gonna hit myself.
Now, another thing people have told me works is they'll just like like if they're like with people that they're performing with or just in a group of friends before they like actually enter the stage, they just like do something stupid, embarrassing. Like they'll make a weird noise or scream or yelp or something, because then it's like, oh, they've already embarrassed themselves a little bit, and it kind of like loosens you up a little bit.
Yeah. I feel like my stage fright as a comedian is like on and off. Sometimes I go on stage really comfortable, and sometimes I get stage fright. It's very random. It's not every single time, which I'm like, okay, well, that's a good sign. I'm getting more comfortable on stage, because it's not every time. But every now and then I'll just randomly get stage fright, and it's sometimes paralyzing. Like, I don't know how you experience it, but for me, it's like I experience it as like hunger. Like I feel hungry and like kind of pale feeling. Like,
oh yeah, like your body feels like weaker.
Maybe like diabetes. Like,
oh
like
yeah,
like
maybe
that feeling of like of needing sugar. Like I kind of get that feeling when I'm really nervous. You know?
like I mean, sugar's a stimulant, so like even like for a second, it'll like kind of refresh you a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. And then my next question on here. This is like an intense transition, but we're just gonna go for it. This like totally doesn't make any sense, but it can. Spiritual beliefs. I'm kind of something that's been on my mind, and you said you were open to like philosophy and different types of things. So what are some of your spiritual beliefs? Like, do you believe that there is something helping you in this life, or do you believe like everything's random, like there's no God, or do you have some sort of like spiritual belief that something in this world is helping you, whether it's God or the universe or whatever?
That's a good question. So for me, it's like I was raised Christian. I grew up Christian, so that kind of instilled like my morals and beliefs with me. But like when I turned like 17, I realized that I didn't really care about it that much, and like I wasn't seeing any like tangible effects of Christianity on my life. Like there were like a couple of things maybe in my past, but like nothing that made sense to me as an adult.
Yeah.
You know? So I do believe that God is real and God exists. I do not practice any religion though, but I do feel like there are spirits and stuff, like because you can just tell like the vibes of something that's happening, you know. And I believe that has to do with spirits, you know, or like energies and stuff. Like I think all that stuff is very real.
I can agree with that. I consider myself agnostic, and it sounds like you're kind of the same way. It's like you believe something, but you don't know how to define it. You don't define it by a religion. Yeah. But you just kind of notice and you're aware of like the spiritual presence of things.
Yeah, I'm very open-minded to different like spiritual experiences. Like I love hearing about other religions and what they believe and like the similarities to what I was taught. Like it's all very very cool. And it's good to be able to think, because I see people who are like really into their religion, and it's almost concerning to me. It's like I realize that even like Christianity, like me, like I said, I grew up Christian, is kind of culty, just like how it is. All religions are kind of culty, but like you don't realize it when you're growing up in it. But then when you step out and you kind of have some freedom and do your own thing and have your own experiences, and you look back and you're kind of just like, oh shit, you know.
It kind of makes. I was just talking about this with my family actually. It kind of makes sense that like there's a correlation between QAnon, you know, QAnon, right? There's like a correlation between QAnon and religion. So a lot of my friends who were devout like Christians were also devout QAnoners. So I think it's that like cult like mentality. You know what I mean? Like some people just like kind of like fall into that, which is like the same reason why I'm not religious, because it's like, okay, I believe in God, but I also think it's important to take a look at all different possibilities and keep your mind open.
Absolutely, I agree
just like
with that.
Follow like strict rules, you know. So
yeah,
but that's cool. Like we're kind of on the same page with that. Okay, wow. When I wrote these questions, there was like no thought into transition, like so. But maybe that'll actually, you know, the way people's brains are designed in 2021. That's probably interesting because you guys like go through TikToks with no transition, so it's fine. Back to the dating topic. I don't know why I'm asking this, but I'm just like curious because like I don't really get to talk to guys about this much. I usually talk to girls about this. So from the male perspective, or from your perspective personally, when you're looking for a mate, you know, at wherever you find them, on Tinder or at the bar,
under
or whatever,
a rock somewhere,
anywhere. Do looks matter to you?
Do looks matter to me?
Or like what's your thing? Are you like, I need a hot girl? Like, is that the most important thing? Or are you willing to negotiate looks over a good personality?
That is so curious. Funny that they're phrasing that you're willing to negotiate looks. It's like, oh, you're not very good looking, but you're kind of nice, so kind of levels itself out, right?
Listen, I'm 33. I've thought all this through. I'm starting to realize that at 33, you either have to settle for a hot guy who's dumb or abusive, or an ugly guy who's a good guy. Like, that's like, maybe not. I think in your 20s you could probably like land the like Prince Charming, who's like hot and manly and smart and loving and everything, but they're all married. So at 33, I'm either gonna get a hot guy who's dumb or an ugly guy who's awesome. That's like what I'm pretty much figuring out. So
did you have standards like at some point, like crazy standards about men?
Yeah, I would say I like how the question's being turned around. That's good though, because it's making me look at myself. Yeah, I would say, I mean, I don't know. Yes and no. Like, I feel like, okay, so maybe I'll tell you how I do it, and then you can tell me, like, it'll maybe like prompt you to figure out how you do it too. But like, so what I do now is I write a list of what I look for in somebody. I'm not going to find the perfect person that fulfills all those things, but I just kind of like keep a mental checklist of the things that are important to me. So when I go out and meet people, I like kind of ask myself like, okay, this is what I'm looking for. And I could already tell you like some of the things that are on the list. I'm like, does he I'm like, does he have a good sense of humor? That's a big deal for me. We're comedians. Like, I don't think I could be with like someone who didn't have a sense of humor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Did they have a good sense of humor? A big thing for me is like, are they jealous? Like, I don't want to be with a jealous person. Especially as a comedian, like, we're out every night, you know, meeting people.
Yeah.
So I just like have a list, like, and it's pretty strict. Like, another thing on my list is like, does he have like a hobby that he loves, like a passion type of thing?
Yeah, I also think it's important to have a passion. Like, what drives you?
Exactly. So what's your thing? What's your list? Like,
my list.
It doesn't have to be your list, but like, back to the original question, like when you go out and you're looking for girls, like how important are looks to you?
I always say this to my friends. I'm very vain for a guy who's out of shape. You know what I mean? like I definitely I prefer to be with like girls that I find more attractive. Like I like a pretty face and a sense of humor and stuff like that. Yeah. But I am willing to negotiate, as you say, sometimes. You know.
What would you rather take? A girl who's fit with an ugly face, or a girl who's overweight with a pretty face? What would be your negotiation?
I gotta pick between the two. Let me see. I mean, I think honestly, like, either way, it depends on the personality. That does a huge fucking thing for me. Like vanity aside, because like, if you got a great body but an ugly face, it's like, you know what I mean? Like, that's a pretty level playing field, I think, in my eyes.
Yeah, you don't always have to look at doggy style. Sounds good.
Exactly, like the kind of girl that you don't like bring around your family, but you'll like bring around your friends sometimes. You know?
Oh my god, this is a conversation. I'll tell you what, I'll take a body over a face. I'll take a body over a face.
Oh yeah,
yeah, because I'm really into fitness, so I can't like. I would rather have like. I think I'd rather have like a fit guy. Doesn't have to be like jacked necessarily, but like, you know, an in shape guy. Yeah,
just like guy takes care of himself, cares about his appearance, that type of thing.
Yeah, like I think a fit guy. I'd rather. I if I had to pick one over the other, I would take the fit guy with the ugly face versus the fat guy with the nice face. That's my personal preference. But it could be different.
No, that's a good point. That's a good point, because like at the end of the day, for me at least, and probably for you as well, like when I see someone who's like, you know, physically fit, or at least taking care of themselves, that in itself is attractive. Yeah.
Sorry for offending everybody right now, because like
I'm like treading on like thin ice here. I'm like, oh my god, I can't insult the fat people. Like,
listen, this is the Pranzata podcast. We do what we want here. We don't have rules.
The first thing I said was that I have a weird body, and I'm at peace with it. Like I have like skinny legs and arms, and like just like
you're good.
I think fat torso. No,
I think you're good. Okay. Do looks matter? We already said that. Okay, this is again. I don't know why these questions are so sporadic, but do you know what it is? Okay,
I'm welcoming of it.
Do you know what it is? I had a comedian, Andre Mitchell, here as my last. No, I had another comedian too. I had a Caitlin Michelle, but I just remember when I did a podcast with Andre Mitchell, like all the questions were comedy. And I'm like, my next comedian that comes on, I just want to be fun. Like, I just want to have fun. Like, I don't want to get so into the technique of comedy.
Yeah.
We did a little bit, but like, I kind of want to just like have fun because I think that would be like an interesting perspective for the audience and for myself.
I mean, I've enjoyed all the questions so far, honestly. So I think it's great.
Okay, next question. Totally unrelated to dating, or maybe it is. I don't know. If you were to die today.
Oh.
If you were to die today. No, this is a good question. If you were to die today. And you had to pick your last meal, what would your meal be?
If I were to die today and I had to pick my last meal. If somebody told me, like,
if you were in the electric chair, like if you were getting the electric chair and they were like, here's your last meal, what meal would it be? Because this is your last meal that you get to enjoy.
Wait, what the fuck does this have to do with like romance and relationships?
No, it doesn't. It has nothing to do with it.
Is there like some like is this like one of those like quizzes online?
No, this has nothing to. I mean, we can all connect the dots in any way, but it's totally unrelated to the last question. It's like a totally new question.
Okay, well,
like my feet are gonna
like a meal or like one thing.
A meal.
A meal?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like Mexican food, steak and potatoes. Like. This is your favorite meal, and it's the last meal that you get to have before you die.
Oh yeah, probably like Thanksgiving food.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, then your season is about to arrive.
Oh yeah.
When's your birthday?
I'm born in March.
Okay, I was like, maybe he's a November baby, and that's why he likes Thanksgiving food. So you're really into the turkey.
No, I love the food. Like that's like the inner obesity in me. Like 100%. I'm technically obese. There was a point where I wasn't.
No way. You don't look obese to me.
Oh, thank you. That really does mean a lot. I'm so genuine about that. But no, like because it's just like a BMI thing. Like for my height. For my height, I have too much weight on my body.
I know what you mean. I don't mean like I know what you mean about you, but I mean I know what you mean about me, because like I would be obese at a very small I would be obese at like 160 pounds because I have tiny bones. So it's all about your bone structure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So my like wrists and my everything is so small. So for me to be 160 pounds, for me, that would be obese at my BMI. But for somebody else, that would be skinny, depending on their body type.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, exactly. For me, I think it's around like it's like 220 or something like that.
Okay.
So right now I'm like at 250. So I really want to like get the numbers down because I'm like I'm medically obese. I am, yeah.
Well, you carry it well.
Yeah, I carry it all in my torso.
How tall are you?
I'm 6'2".
Oh, that makes sense. So you're a tall guy, so you can carry it a little. You can pull it off.
All I need is like a big T-shirt or like a thick coat, and then I just look like I have muscles.
You do not. I would never think you were like obese. Like I would never think that. That's wild.
It's only technically. And who cares about technically, right? People don't look at me and they're like, oh, he's obese. Because
I would look at you and guess 210. That would be my guess.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. No, I was skinny like 4 years ago, and it was pretty bad. Like it was good because I felt good about myself, but it was bad because I was not healthy.
Well, what were you starving yourself?
No, I wasn't starving myself. My body was in a way starving itself because, like I said, I was diabetic at the time, and for years I had not taken care of myself.
Okay.
Sorry. Oof. Man, those fucking sparkling drinks. I've been burping. But
by the way, guys, we're having seltzer in a Pranzata mug. They're Pranzata mugs.
Oh shit, that's cool.
No, one of my listeners sent this to me. They like the podcast and they sent me Pranzata drinking glasses.
That is so cool.
But we're drinking seltzer with vodka.
Nice.
And
very good.
Yeah. So, I'm going to get him. Luckily, he doesn't live too far. So
it sounds like you're like sponsoring a brand, but badly.
That would be great, because that means if that were the case, my podcast would be expanding if I was being sponsored. But one day, I'm going to dream. Okay, so we got through that. Oh wait, did we answer the question though?
No.
We did. Thanksgiving food.
Food. Yeah. But I was gonna say, so to complete my thought before. Yeah. So yeah, like I said, diabetic, wasn't taking care of myself. My blood sugar was high like all the time. I straight up would sometimes go like 2 days without taking any insulin, and then I found out a couple of years ago that a diabetic without insulin will die in like 10 days. So I would go like 2 to 3 days at a time sometimes without medication and just be like, it's fine, just be uncomfortable and just be fine with like being like painfully uncomfortable.
Like, yeah.
I was in so much denial, but the thing about that about my body was at the time I was very skinny. Like I looked like a completely different person because of how skinny I was, and it was because I would eat like crazy, but your body is unable to metabolize food without insulin.
Holy shit.
So I would literally just be eating stuff and my blood sugar would keep going up, and then I wouldn't absorb any nutrients from what I was eating, not even like fat. So my body was unable to use the carbs that I was consuming, so it was like eating away at my fat. So because of that I was skinny.
What is insulin?
It's a hormone. It regulates blood sugar levels, and it also has like a digestive enzyme.
So some people can't produce the hormone insulin.
Yeah, some people it just stops. Like I didn't have any symptoms like that before I was 12, and then one day my pancreas just stopped working.
Holy shit.
Yeah. It can happen to anyone, but you know, it's sometimes genetic, but like, you know, not all diabetes is the same. It's like type 2 is when, you know, you eat your way to it, kind of. Like I've had family members who are type 2 diabetic, and it's like, if you could just exercise and get rid of it, then why not just do it?
But yours is like totally
yeah, like even if I'm like, it also like affects the way that I build muscle. Like if my blood sugar is high, I'm not able to like build muscle in the same way. Yeah. Like I said, because my body is kind of eating away at itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so yeah, it's a little it's more complicated, and because I'm like lazy about it, that's why I look like this, you know. but like I'm confident about it.
I'll edit
really
the podcast. I'll make us look skinnier.
Yeah, I was my Halloween costume this year was gonna be like Superman after he retired or something. Just like put like a gray wig on, look like a fat old Superman.
Okay.
Glory days.
So we did the food question. Oh, okay. These questions are so out of order. Okay, I didn't think this through. Okay, next question. It's kind of back to comedy a little bit now. But it's a good question. As a comedian, is there a specific like mission or purpose behind what you do? I've asked the same question to Andre Mitchell, and he had like a mission behind it. I'll just kind of give his example so you can like understand what I'm asking. So he said, yes, his mission was to get his bigger like he wants to become a comedian because he has like important topics that he wants to share, and his like purpose behind comedy is he thinks that the world should discuss these topics, and he wants to use humor. Do you have like a certain mission behind your comedy, or no, you just do it because it's fun?
Well, I definitely do it because I enjoy it very much. But I guess if I were to have a mission, like I said, there's certain things about me, certain traits that I have, certain experiences that I've had that I feel like are underrepresented in comedy. So I feel like because of that, it's like free territory. Like I can do that. Like the diabetes thing, for example, like that's unique to me, and I've not heard many comics, at least like on a professional level, talk about it. So I know that I can like do a lot with it. Yeah. So but yeah, I mean, I just you know, these things about me, my experience, like the diabetes, for example, like I definitely do want to have like more representation for diabetics in general. That
makes a lot of sense. It's like a very and if you do believe in spirituality, like we were saying before, like some spiritual believer, you know, people who believe in spirituality or God, they do believe that God might have like put them on this earth for a specific purpose. So it kind of makes sense to connect that with your comedy and be like, this is my voice in comedy. I have this very unique perspective as a young man with diabetes, which is like a really rare. Is it pretty rare to be young with diabetes, would you say?
Well, actually, the type 1 diabetes is called juvenile diabetes because it's more likely to occur in like children and young adults. But overall, it's not super common. I don't know what the numbers are exactly, but it's not like super common.
I mean, I don't hear about it. You know what I mean? I only hear about like older people like that have eaten their way to the other kind, like you said. But it makes sense that like maybe somewhat of your purpose in this life could be like to share that experience with people and put it in a humorous way, so other people going through the same thing can connect with it, and other people not going through the same thing could understand it.
Yeah, exactly. And because honestly, knowing that people can sympathize with you is a good feeling. It's like, okay, you know, I'm going through this, but it can suck a little less because at least I know that you can somewhat understand it, or at least give me some sympathy, you know? Yeah. But one of the best feelings that I had actually while doing comedy was one time I was at my friend Elazar's show. It was at Raise the Bar in South Amboy. Yeah. And I did my set, my diabetes jokes and everything. And then afterwards, not even during the set actually, it turns out that one of the audience members in front of me was a type 1 diabetic, and he was young too. Yeah, he was like 22 or something like that. Yeah. And then like he even like pulled out his insulin pen, and I was like, no way.
So you know, and then made a connection with him.
Exactly. I made a connection with him, and then he was like so stoked and happy that like I was doing the material that I was doing, and he was just it was a beautiful feeling.
To it. He could probably understand 100%, like, what the humor is, you know?
Yeah, like he understood the jokes 100%. He was dying the whole time. It was great, and it felt really good to make that connection, because you know it let me know that, you know, there are people that feel like diabetics, type 1 diabetics, are like misrepresented or like not represented enough, you know.
That's it, you know, and it's actually smart what you're doing too, because now you actually have like a niche in comedy. That I think that's important for people to have like their own little niche in comedy, because a lot of comedians can start to sound like each other. And I think your voice is going to be truly unique as you develop it, because it's like there's not going to be a lot of people joking about this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so too. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good thing. Like a lot of people have been telling me like, oh, you should bring your piano on stage and do like musical comedy, because that will give you a niche and like it'll be your own unique thing. But I don't want to. Like I've been talking about this all week, that like I don't want to be Bo Burnham. Like I like know Bo Burnham. I love Bo Burnham, but I just don't think that's like my talent. You know what I mean? Like my talent is playing piano and comedy separately of each other. And so I don't feel like I have that niche. Like I feel like I'm just kind of a more generic comedian. So that's really cool that you have that like thing to focus on, you know?
Yeah, I mean, at first I didn't want to embrace it. I was like, oh, I don't want to be the diabetic comic. But then I realized
the diabetic comic.
Exactly. I didn't just want to be, because I felt like as I was doing more and more open mics, I was like, I'm doing the same jokes about the same type of stuff, like diabetes, like every time I go on stage. And at that point I was like kind of meeting people and kind of getting known a little bit. So like I was like, all these people know that I have diabetes, and then now I was thinking, oh, when they see me, they're gonna be like, oh, he's gonna tell us a diabetes joke, and it's gonna kind of like zone them out a little bit, you know?
That's a thing too. So that's a good question actually. Do you ever get bored of talking about diabetes, or do you expand your material to other material, or do you kind of just try to stick with a general theme?
100%. I stray away from the diabeties jokes because I have other unique experiences to talk about. Yeah. But I do have a couple. It's
not like you're just diabetes. It's not like that.
Yeah, exactly. But when I was like a younger comedian, it was one thing I was definitely like afraid of. I was like, I don't want to just be the diabetes guy, you know?
That's a really good point. No, yeah, it kind of goes both ways. It's like, oh, it's good to have that niche, but at the same time, you don't want to be like labeled as that either.
Exactly. But I mean, after realizing that it's not who I am and there's much more to me, and like there's a lot more that I can show about myself than just that, I can like, okay, this is one of the things about me, but there's a lot more too, you know? Yeah. So I definitely do try to incorporate other kinds of humor, like just the way I was raised, stuff like that, because you know, I have unique experiences and you know, some traumatic ones, but I think that those make the best stories, and you can find the most humor in those things.
I was literally just telling this to one of my friends. I was like explaining to him that a lot of comedians have been through a lot. Like they've been through a lot of shit, and that's kind of what makes good comedy, is like it telling your experience, and again relating to like the audience having someone to laugh about that with, like to be able to take their pain and turn it into a positive thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that a big thing with comedy is when you learn to kind of separate yourself from your ego, you can find like the real like solid gold material that you have to tell, you know? Like let me what did I say? I lost my train of thought.
No, I felt like I all the time.
I was on a roll. So yeah, no, when you separate your ego from yourself, then you can kind of look at yourself, see all the things that, you know, that are funny or stupid about you and your life, and then you can talk about them, and in a way that it's like you're talking about someone else, but it's you. You know what I mean? Yeah. So because of that, people are able to connect with it. Like if I'm sad and I talk about it, but I make fun of it, somebody else who went through something similar is like, oh, I felt that way too, and that builds a connection. So I think people who are like more like with their ego in their comedy, they can still be very powerful comics. Yeah. Like with a strong ego, you can definitely be a strong comic. But if you're not like grounded to some degree, I feel like it's gonna slow down at some point.
I've actually heard this, and I think it's kind of interesting. I heard it on a podcast, like between other comedians, like other successful comedians. I don't remember who they were, but I heard them say that to be a comedian, you either need to be wildly narcissistic or wildly whatever the opposite of like a little bit like a little bitch, like basically these polar extremes, whether you need to be like total, like I don't know if I'm totally misquoting this, but I'm kind of piggybacking what you said, like how you said you can be very egocentric. So they're saying, so what they're basically saying is like some comedians are like mega egocentric, like they're just so selfish and so narcissistic, and that's what gives them the courage to be good comedians. Or they're like the polar opposite, where they're like overly sensitive and overly emotional, and they need constant validation. And it's like these are the traits that could make a good comedian, basically, and there's like very little in between that can make a good comedian.
I think that like thirst for validation, that a lot of people have it, like regardless of, like, of what side of that spectrum that they're on. Like a lot of people have to deal with that, like even if you're like a confident, almost nearly narcissistic person, like when people, like, your response to not like being found interesting or funny might be, all right, fuck them then, you know. But it's still like a defensive way because you didn't like the experience, you didn't like the way that somebody perceived you, you know. So I think at the end of the day, it drives everybody a little bit.
100%. Now that's interesting that you were saying about like detaching yourself from your ego. I feel like that's like a very mature thing to say for 24 years old. Yeah,
well, I mean, I feel like once you do acid enough times you kind of think about things that other experiences would cause you to think of later in life.
So you
do
psychedelics?
Like, I do, yeah.
Tell me about mushrooms, because I've been trying to try them, and I just did a podcast episode where I was explaining that I tried mushrooms and nothing happened because I'm on antidepressants. And apparently if you're on antidepressants, they can somehow block the effects of mushrooms, because essentially they're mushrooms and antidepressants are kind of doing the same thing, because they're messing with your serotonin and dopamine. So therefore, if you are on Zoloft, like which I was, you can have no effects from mushrooms. So I'm like curious. I'm literally going off Zoloft just to try mushrooms, and like I'm kind of curious. Like, what was your experience like on mushrooms?
The first time I did mushrooms, oh man. I remember I was doing mushrooms with a guy that I was kind of friends with, you know, because he had done it before. He had the connects to it, so I was like, fuck it, I want to try it. So we went to my house and we took mushrooms and started like watching like music videos and shit, and then they started to hit. And
what happened?
First it was funny. It was like, you know, we were laughing at a bunch of shit. We were like looking at things like a little colorful. It was kind of cool. And then it got worse. Then
worse. Okay.
Then so I don't know. Good. I think it was like a couple of moments of silence, and I started talking about my dad, and then I started crying.
Oh no.
And then he started crying because he started thinking about his dad.
Oh no.
Then we were just like two like.
You just like brought the whole mood down.
Exactly. Just two grown men just like sitting in the room fucking crying like uncontrollably. Like,
I mean, that's probably good though, because you're like experiencing something.
Oh no, it's great. But then once you're done, you're like, oh shit.
Your dad was making you cry. Like, what were you crying about?
I don't know. I don't remember specifically, but at the time, I didn't have like a great relationship with my father.
Aww.
Yeah, so it was just, you know, something like that probably. And with him, I forget what it was. It was something similar. I don't know, but daddy issues, you know. But you know, we started crying anyway, and then after that, I was like, okay, maybe it's not gonna get weirder from here. Then it did. Then I remember this. I put on some Tame Impala, you know, those trippy music videos. Yeah, just so I could kind of like, you know, see what it looks like through my eyes now at that point, you know. So that was my intention. I put some videos on, and then I paused it. And then my first thought when I paused it, because it went from noise and music and colors to dead silence, I was like, wow, it feels like we're in purgatory. And that fucking freaked this guy out. I was like, this is what purgatory is like. We're just like stuck here waiting for the video to unpause.
So yeah, I've actually heard this before too. Like, apparently if you're having dark thoughts in your life, that it might not be the right time to do psychedelics.
100%. You should not do it. If you're like going through some shit, do not do psychedelics.
So did you have another time where you did mushrooms?
Was that another time? Yeah, I remember the second time I did mushrooms was with my brother and a couple of his friends we had moved to White House Station at that time.
Yeah.
So that was like a year after we moved, and I remember that time I was with this girl at the time, and I did something really stupid looking back, just because this whole emotional incident could have been avoided if I had not done it. So basically, I bought a bunch of mushrooms, like an ounce, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna save some for you, and then I'll give the rest to my brothers or my friends or whatever. But then we were like in the middle of a breakup, so I was like, fuck this girl, I'm gonna do the mushrooms with my friends. So we just split the whole ounce, and then she called me as I was starting to climb the trip.
An ounce?
And like we split an ounce between 5 people.
Oh, okay, that's not that.
So that's like it's usually about an eighth or so.
Okay.
To like work for one person, so a little more than an eighth, like probably an eighth and a third of an eighth, whatever the fuck measurement that is. Yeah. But yeah, so we split that and we did that, and we were all just like chilling and stuff, but that time was crazy intense. But I remember feeling so shitty because we were talking on the phone, me and my girlfriend at the time, and I forgot what it was. We were going into the argument, but I think she missed me and she called me and wanted to talk or something. Yeah, it was cute until I started just talking nonsense, like absolute fucking nonsense. I don't even remember. I think she would like trying to talk about the thing, and then I would be like, yeah, but I got a stain on my shirt now. I wonder how I'm gonna get that stain now. Have you had a lot of stains like that? Just like going on like random tangents of just bullshit random. And she was like, are you okay? And I was like, fuck. And then she realized that I took the mushrooms, and then she got mad at me and blocked me, and then I just started. Oh, she got mad because we were like I said, the mushrooms were initially for the both of us, and I was just like, fuck you, but I didn't say that to her. So she got mad about it and then blocked me, and then I just started crying like in front of like all of like my guy friends, and they were just like, dude, shut the fuck up.
Oh my god.
Like so yeah, definitely I'd say make sure you're in a better mental state before doing like an intense psychedelic, especially for the first time.
Would you recommend doing mushrooms alone? Would that be dangerous?
Honestly, have I don't think I've done it alone so far, but I think I could. I think there have been moments where I was by myself while doing mushrooms, and that was a trip in itself. But I think taking mushrooms by yourself, it could be cool. You just have to be aware that you're on a drug and it's going to wear off in a few hours. So you got to just power through it.
Kind of like I was saying, like before we started the podcast, I was like, oh, I smoke weed sometimes, but I don't like to do it around other people because I get paranoid.
Yeah.
I'm like worried about the same thing with mushrooms. I'm like, would I enjoy doing mushrooms around people? I think I might get like paranoid that I might freak out around them or something. So part of me is like, maybe I just want to try them alone first. And then I'm like, is that dangerous? Like,
it's not dangerous, but I do think that your like, decision making is definitely inhibited a little bit.
Kill my cats or like something?
Oh my God. I mean. All right, I'm gonna be completely honest with you. So this is one experience that I had while I was on acid, another psychedelic, right? Okay. And you haven't done acid?
No.
Okay, I mean, people think that one is worse than the other, but really they're like the same shit to me. But anyway,
I heard acid puts holes in your brain.
Oh my God. I mean, I don't know if it does. I don't think it does. Like, I'm pretty sure I've done my research and it doesn't. Does it? Oh my God, that explains so much.
That's why like I kind of made that face like, oh no, I've never done, because I have
like you're doing acid like.
No, I've heard that it puts holes in your brain. So
I didn't know that.
I've heard that.
I mean, I don't know how true that is. Honestly, I've done my research
but that's
on
like
it.
the tale. Like so. The tale is that mushrooms don't really hurt you in any way.
Yeah.
But the tale is that acid apparently. In the comment section, correct us. I don't know. I'm just going by hearsay. I've never actually researched it. But the old wives' tale is that acid puts holes in your brain. Is that true? Comment. Let us know.
Please, yeah. Like the big question, is acid melting holes in my brain? Please tell me.
Clearly. No, I'm just kidding.
Right? Oh my God. But I was gonna tell you, so yeah, so with psychedelics, they alter the way you perceive things, the way that you visualize the world, the way that you think about things. Like for some people it can open up like a whole new type of empathy. Yeah. Right? Like something that you maybe didn't feel like you connected with before, you feel like you have a better understanding of it, and you can kind of feel like you can understand it, you know? Yeah. Did I just say understand it twice? I don't know.
Don't worry.
But yeah, so, but then there's also other shit that can happen. Like this one time, one thing that I used to do growing up, I still do, I used to collect like knives and stuff like that because I thought knives were cool. I like keeping them like, you know, just on display mostly. Yeah. And this one time I was on acid by myself and I looked in the mirror and I was playing around with one of my knives, right? I was playing around with one of my knives. I looked in the mirror, and for some reason, I was like, I wonder what it would look like if I sliced my tongue. And then I sliced my tongue.
Oh my god, no!
Yeah, because it was just like a stupid, impulsive decision.
All right, I'm not.
But
doing
those can happen.
Yeah,
on psychedelics.
that's what I mean. I'm like, I don't know if like doing mushrooms alone is a good idea, because if I don't have any control over my body, like what if I do something dangerous? You know?
I mean, my tongue is perfectly fine. It's one of the fastest healing organs in your body, so it was fine. But at the time, it was scary. There was like blood just like gushing from.
That is the
I was like, what the fuck? You know?
That's okay. Yeah, that's dude. Yeah, don't. All right, I'm not. I will never do acid now. Thank you.
Do your research first.
Do your research. Comment in the comments section. No, I'm just kidding.
Comment. What's your crazy experience with a psychedelic, if you have any?
Actually, yeah, that's a good question. Okay, let's see. These questions are transitioning so awkwardly because they like I sliced my tongue on acid. Next question: what's your favorite meal? We said the mission thing. I already asked you what girls think if you're a comedian. Okay, this stupid dumb transition, but it's actually a good question because this is a Q&A question. So one of the guests actually asked us this.
Oh shit.
Because we put out a Q&A. Natalie, we only got one question, but we're going to answer it for you, Natalie. Natalie wants to know, she wants us to argue like, are cats better than dogs?
Are cats better than dogs?
Or no, what's better, cats or dogs? So are you a cat person or a dog person?
Wow, growing up, I was told that cats were evil.
Jesus Christ. I have 2 cats, by the way.
No, now it's totally different. Now I love cats. I think I like cats more than dogs.
Let's argue.
Sure.
Argue. So are you on first of all, I don't think there needs to be a team. I like cats and dogs, but if we're going to play it, I'm going to go for cats because I have cats. So are you on team cat or team dog?
I think that overall I'm on team cat just because I feel like they're more interesting. I like animals that are more mentally stimulating. Like dogs have like loyalty and stuff, which is great, and because like they're like, oh, man's best friend, whatever. But that's great. Like it's great that like to know that your dog will more than likely be loyal to you, whereas your cat will literally watch you die and just be like, huh, But like overall, I find cats to be more interesting. I feel like their personalities unfold in a more interesting way than dogs do.
I have a theory. Okay. I have a theory about y'all cat haters because like I get a lot of people hate cats. People hate dogs too. I don't hate dogs. I love dogs, by the way. I don't like that they smell sometimes. That's probably like the only thing I don't like about them. But I love them. I love dogs. But I'll tell you why I like cats. Because a lot of people who are dog people that hate cats, their argument is like, cats are antisocial. They're like, cats are not loving. They're not this. That's not true because I have cats, and if you've seen my Instagram post, they're like constantly like humping my legs. Like they're like constantly jumping on me and like hugging me. You have to develop trust with a cat. That's the thing. When you go up to a random cat, like a stray cat, or like if somebody enters my house and they meet the cat, they're like, oh, this cat's a fucking asshole. It's like, no, you just don't know. Like, and this is why I love that, because I think cats are like people, because like a lot of people are shy and reserved until you get to know them. Yeah. I'm very cat-like in nature. I'm exactly like that. It probably doesn't seem like that because this is like one of the first times we've hung out and I'm asking you really weird questions, but this is a podcast. You know what I mean? In real life, like when I meet people, I'm not just like, hey, what's up? Like I'm very reserved and shy, and then I unravel as you get to know me, and I like that quality in cats. I think it's charming. Like I don't why are people so impatient and so eager to like I don't know if I want a creature that's just like loyal the second it meets me. I think it's kind of interesting to have a creature that you get to like develop. You have to like win them over. I like it. Yeah. I don't know. No, I just ranted. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, I understand what you're saying about cats, but like the thing about cats too, and this applies to dogs or any pet really, is that like you could be the sweetest to them. You could do everything for them. You could do your best to be, the best caretaker you can be, but sometimes they'll grow up and still just won't fuck with you. You ever had that? You ever had like a cat? Like I used to have a kid, and like I love this kid, and it wasn't my kid, it was my cousin's kid, but like we would go over and I would play with it all the time, and then like one time I didn't come over for like a year, and I came back and I expected the cat to be happy to see me, and the cat did not fuck with me.
But here's the thing.
Even a little bit.
Again, back to the people. See, I'm on team cat, and I'm going to tell you why. Isn't that a lot like people? Don't you have one uncle that you love and one uncle that is a piece of shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, same thing with cats. Cats are like people. You're going to have one cat that's a piece of narcissistic shit, and you're going to have one cat that is loving. They're so diverse. And I think dogs are diverse too, right? Aren't there some dogs that aren't loyal? Like, not, I wouldn't say not loyal, but like, aren't there?
You just walk in, you see the dog cuddling with the neighbor. You're like,
No, but not all dogs are friendly. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I would say the majority of dogs are friendly, but not all of them. Some of them don't like people. Like, so I don't understand what's the stigma against cats, like that they're all pieces of shit. It's like there are some dogs that don't like people too. You know?
You ever been near a fucking Chihuahua?
Those things fucking, those things are little assholes.
Those things are terrible. And they got like sharp teeth too.
They're cute though.
They're little pieces of shit. Like you see them and you want to kick them because they're annoying and they freak out over little shit. You know?
They're cute.
I've met some nice ones though. My sister has a really nice Chihuahua, and it's like so surreal because I'm like, any other fucking Chihuahua I've seen has been a little piece of shit. You could even, if you poke them, they'll start growling at you, and they have these big bulgy eyes. That's just not an attractive animal.
Do you have any pets currently?
I have two birds. Two cockatiels. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Like your choice?
Well, not really. I mean, they were my sister's birds, and then when she moved out, she left them behind because they grew on us, and we started taking care of them and stuff.
Yeah.
And birds are great. They're so
really
cute. Yeah, they actually have like I didn't think so. I thought that like cats and dogs and maybe like pigs and a couple other animals were like the only animals that could like develop a personality or real like affection for their like caretakers and stuff.
No, birds do. I've heard that too.
Yeah, no, my birds are so sweet. Their names are Banana and Sofrito.
Banana?
Yeah, Banana. Yeah, my sister named them because I'm Puerto Rican, so my sister's like, oh, this is Banana, this is Sofrito.
Are you 100% Puerto Rican?
Yeah, I am.
Do you speak Spanish?
I don't, but I mean that's common with Puerto Ricans, I've been told. But I mean, I do want to get in touch with that though, because I feel like it's like I'm Hispanic. I should act Hispanic.
I probably speak more Spanish than you.
Do you?
Hablo español con fluidez. Puta.
Is that how you speak it? Just like that?
I probably have the whitest accent, but I'm actually fluent in Spanish. Like our friend, what's our comic friend that just Preston.
Oh yeah, I fucking love Preston.
No, not Preston. I'm sorry.
Not Preston. I still love Preston.
I'm such a bad friend. Our friend who just did with Bill Burr. I'm such a horrible friend.
That was Preston.
That's it. Okay, never mind. I have two friends named Preston. I'm really bad with names, by the way. I have two friends named Preston, but that is Preston. He's not allowed to watch this. He's not allowed to watch this. But no, he speaks. He's a white guy that speaks awesome Spanish.
Oh yeah, I've seen him perform in Spanish. He does so well.
He fucking does comedy in Spanish. I can speak fluent Spanish, but my accent is very white. Like, so that's the problem. But yeah, I could understand everything and speak.
I think Preston still sounds white when he speaks Spanish, but like he just has like he's acquired like the rhythm to it that makes it sound natural.
Wait, he's better than me. Like I could tell by the way he speaks. Like he sounds white, but you're right. You know what I mean? I feel like my Spanish is a little bit slow, but I can understand everything I hear.
Yeah,
you know?
like most Spanish people, I think that would meet Preston would like appreciate that. Like as a white guy, he took those extra steps and learned the language well. You know.
I wonder how he learned it.
I think he said that he lived in another country for a couple of years. It might have been Colombia. I forget which one. Honestly, I'm sorry.
That's the best way to learn a language, to completely immerse yourself. Because I actually went to college for Spanish. I had a double. This is the stupidest possible track I could take, but I have a double major in music and Spanish. So fucking random.
Really?
Doesn't make any sense. But I have a bachelor's in Spanish and I have a bachelor's in piano.
Bachelor's in Spanish.
I know.
What does one do with that?
You could be a Spanish teacher.
Okay, is that it though? Like.
Pretty
Can
much.
you be like a translator?
You could be a translator.
Or some shit?
I almost did. I almost became a court translator, but then I got too involved. Like I was actually studying to be a court translator, which sounded badass, but I started getting really involved with like my piano students.
Oh, okay.
And that started taking off before that. So I was just like, I'm just going to follow this path. And I did teach Spanish in a high school briefly. I hated it. I quit. But
did your students take you seriously? Because I'm sure you had some native Spanish speakers in your class, right? I didn't take the job
seriously.
Oh.
Because I don't know. I just realized that I wasn't built for public school. I do really well teaching private piano lessons because I feel like I have the freedom and the flexibility to create whatever curriculum I want to create.
Yeah.
But I don't like being told what to do. So I used to get really pissed off when I would teach a certain lesson plan and they'd be like, you have to teach this, you have to teach that. And I would just be like, fuck this. You know what I mean? Like I was such a bad influence. Like the students, like I would be like eating snacks in the classroom and they'd be like, Miss Andrea, you know you're not allowed to eat in here. And I'd be like, they would never know. And then like the next day the kids would come in with snacks, like eating them with me. Like I was just like a horrible influence as a teacher. And I kind of like quit before I got fired. I was like, I'm going to get fired if I continue working here. I would like come in smelling like booze and cigarettes.
Oh my
like,
God.
I don't know. I just wasn't my job. But where were we even going with this? Oh, yeah. I had a Spanish degree, and like back to what we were saying, the way I learned was they threw me in Spanish classes where there was no English conducted at all. And coming from being brand new in Spanish, like I went to them and I was like, hey, I want to learn Spanish. And they're like, and you've never spoken Spanish before in your life. And I'm like, no, I just want to learn. And they're like, okay, well, we're going to do this. The only way you're going to learn is if we just throw you in Spanish classes where we're going to throw you in Spanish 3 and you're going to skip Spanish 1 is basically what they told me.
Wow.
And they're like, if you make it, if you can pass this and do a good job, then you should pursue Spanish. If not, then do something else. And it worked. So they threw me into these level 3 Spanish classes without ever taking Spanish 1. They were all conducted in Spanish. So like my first day of class, I'm like, what the fuck? I'm in another country right now. It was Kane University. I'm like in Kane University, but like I'm the only white girl in this class and the teachers are not speaking English at all. So for the first 3 weeks of class, I was like, I feel like a fucking alien right now. But then within like a month, I could understand. It was crazy. Just like immersing yourself in the language, you just adapt. It's way better to do that than it is to try to do Duolingo. Like, you know what I mean? Like you just gotta fucking go there and do it. So that's really good that Preston did that he just threw himself in.
Yeah, and I think the same can apply for him. You know, he moved out to whatever country it was, and he had to live there and had to kind of get used to living there. So in doing so, he learned the language fluently.
You learn it fast that way. I think that's how to do it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I tried messing with Duolingo a couple of times, and it works a little bit, but it's just what keeps me interested in Duolingo? You know, like what keeps me wanting to wake up every day and commit like 10 minutes to playing little word games, you know? It's not bad though. I think that it's a good way to start doing it, so you can kind of learn like the basic forms of like speech and communication.
That makes sense. Like if you're going, especially if you're like going to another country on vacation or something, it's kind of like good to do that, just to like, okay, I could say hello to the people. I could do the basics, ask for a drink of water at a restaurant.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just basic communication.
Yeah. What languages do you try to learn on Duolingo?
I've tried Spanish, and also I want to learn Arabic for a little while. Arabic is a very interesting language.
Makes sense. Seems like relatable. You know what I mean? To do that right now. I've had friends say the same thing, that they wanted to learn Arabic.
I think it's good to. I think that most people should be multilingual.
Yeah,
I do believe that. So it's definitely on my like bucket list. I need to learn like at least like 2 languages.
What would be your chosen ones? Arabic and Spanish?
Either Arabic or Chinese, and definitely Spanish.
Chinese, interesting.
Yeah, because they're like the top most spoken languages in the world. Like if you learn those languages, more than likely you'll be fine if you go to like travel internationally. Imagine if you did
stand up in Chinese.
That would be interesting. I've heard a few people have done that. Have gone to China and then done stand up in China and did well because. You know, I guess they like Americans over there. I don't know what it is.
Dude, there's this one stand-up comedian who's from Japan, and she performs in the United States. Her name's Yumi. Have you ever heard of her, Yumi?
She just goes by Yumi?
I think that's her name, Yumi. I think that's like her stage name. It's just Yumi.
Okay.
But what I love about it is that because her English is pretty broken, and she has a very heavy Japanese accent, but because of that, like every joke that comes out of her mouth is hilarious. Because like you just hear her talking about like, I like when men eat my pussy. Like everything that comes out of her mouth is like automatically 10 times funnier just because of how bad her English is. And I'm like, that's kind of a perk. Like, so it's probably like, I'm sure Preston has the same thing. Like this white guy speaking Spanish, it probably sounds so funny. Like, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I know that the first time that I heard him like do comedy in Spanish, I thought it was funny just like hearing him like speak Spanish. I was like, dude, that's fucking crazy. So I imagine that like a Spanish speaker who was watching it would see that and then appreciate it, you know?
Yeah, dude, totally. Okay, I think we're just going on an hour now. Let me make sure I don't have any questions. I think that was all the questions I had for you today. But it was a pleasure. It was very nice to have you here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
This was fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So again, as we close, this is the Pranzata podcast. This is Matt Rivera. Tell them where they can stalk you and find you if they want to do so.
You can find me on Instagram at Insulin Junkie. There's a second I in there. I didn't get the original Insulin Junkie. Ironically, the original Insulin Junkie is this diabetic that's like ripped. So I'm very upset about
I'll
that.
put his handle in the information below so you can find it.
There you go. You'll see
this.
You see where the second I is. But yeah, you can also You can also follow my comedy page, which is Firewall Comedy Show. It's a bi-monthly comedy show that I do at the Brightside Tavern in Jersey City. And yeah, you can find me there and catch me in New Jersey, New York doing things. And yeah, again, it's been so much fun. Thank you.
It's been a lot of fun. Again, don't forget to hit subscribe, like, and comment on anything we talked about today. This is the Pranzata Podcast, episode 33. Have a good night. Bye.
Good night.